Hey guys, welcome back to the Halo Rants YouTube channel once again. Now today we have a slightly different video, which we totally haven't copied off Hidden Expedia or anyone like that. This is going to be a little read-through of the Inside Infinite, basically all the new information on Infinite as of March 2021. Now,
Yeah,
just a quick look through, there looks like some cool stuff in here, Bailey. Looks like a lot of
yeah.
audio-related
Well,
things.
yeah. Well, we haven't read through the article properly yet, but we're kind of skimmed through. We saw the Spotify playlist, which fucking gorgeous songs. I think we'll do a separate video on that, but the
Yeah, I
songs,
think I think we might have
songs
to
are
because they were
gorgeous.
awesome. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Free for Free released this earlier today, and we're just gonna go through it and kind of check everything out. Seems to be
Just
most a lot
highlight
of
the
audio
importance.
theme in this one,
Hmm,
from what I could see.
definitely. But there's a cool gun. There's a very cool
Oh
looking
yeah,
brute
there's
gun.
a cool cool gun later on, which we'll see as well. But
Right.
yeah, let's get
Well,
into this.
oh yeah, just a quick FYI for you all. Obviously, COVID, we're not looking at the same screen right now.
No,
So if it's a little bit off in terms of recording and what we're talking about, appreciate why.
we'll try and keep in sync, but no promises.
Right, so without further ado, let's get into what they're chatting in 2021.
Welcome back to another Inside Infinite, our monthly blog series where we provide an in-depth look at key components of Halo Infinite. In this installment, we've asked the Free for Free audio team to bring you closer to their process than ever before. If you haven't seen our previous Inside Infinite posts, we highly recommend reading them to learn more about the game. Well, we've already read them, so um,
Step ahead.
step ahead of the game. Um, as a reminder, if you have any burning questions you want to ask the audio team after this Inside Infinite, just ask us on Twitter using hashtag AskFree4Free, and it may get featured in our next community Q&A video on YouTube. I like
Ooh,
that.
exciting.
I like that. To be fair, if there is anything we want to ask, I probably will do
Oh,
that.
absolutely. We'll come up with something.
Now let's go hear what the audio team has been working on for Halo Infinite. And
Uh,
gorgeous, bit
yeah,
bit
that looks
random, bit random it's put
awesome.
there, but that is actually quite a nice Halo 3-esque Forerunner interior.
The doors are just that door right at the back there is
Mm,
very nostalgic to me. That sort of triangular sort of door shape. I
yeah,
love it.
that's
Hitting you
that's
straight in the nostalgia.
that's very nice.
Right.
I'm liking that a lot.
So, audio evolved. Hello, audio team friends. Welcome to the March edition of Inside Infinite. To kick things off, can you please introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about what you do and your story with Halo? Hello, I'm Sotaro Tajima. I'm so sorry, I've definitely butchered that. Audio director for Halo Infinite, and I oversee the audio team and all of the sounds that help you bring the game to life. I began working on Halo back in 2009, and I've been pursuing my passion for the audio aspects of this franchise ever since. We've been busy working on Halo Infinite for quite a while now, and I'm very excited to finally talk about some of the work we've done. I'm Chase Thompson. He sounds like the most American man ever. The lead audio technical designer on Halo Infinite. I work on designing our audio tools and systems. I'll be honest, we don't really care who they are in the nicest possible way. They're really cool people, I'm sure, but we just kind of want to know what they're doing and how they've
We want
improved.
to see what they've made more than what they've got
So,
to say.
so just quickly, there is also a dude called Carl Fraser here, who's the lead sound designer on Halo Infinite, and Joel Yager, the musical supervisor on Halo Infinite. I'm sure they're lovely people and they're really good at what they do, but I just want to see what they've actually done as opposed to who
Yeah.
they are in the nicest possible way. Right. In the years since Halo 5, there's been no sort of feedback coming into the studio from across all of the community. I know I've read that the wrong way, but close enough. Thinking back, what were the key takeaways from the audio team and how have they influenced the work on Halo Infinite? We started gathering and evaluating player feedback right after the shipping of Halo 5. I'm not surprised, you probably had a lot of it. Our entire team went through the feedback, discussed each item in depth, then set about defining our audio goals for Halo Infinite. We received a variety of great feedback and suggestions, but the highest level takeaways for us and our key goals for Halo Infinite are recapturing the legacy essence of Halo, There you go. That's back to this
They're,
old bloody spiritual reboot.
yeah,
They're bringing it
yeah.
back, aren't they? That's
They're,
what they're going for.
they're not just realised it in the art department; they've realised it in the audio, and
Yeah,
that's
which is
good to see.
brilliant.
That's very
And
good to see.
once again, we'll touch on it later or in another video, proven in the new songs that they release because
Yeah.
they slapped. But
Uh,
they've also strengthened the excitement and impact of Halo's combat. I mean, yeah, true. That did need
I
a bit of
mean,
work.
the sound effect is part of what makes something feel satisfying.
That's very true.
Like if you pulled off a sniper headshot, but it makes a little sound, I'm not. That's not satisfying. But if
No,
that makes a
absolutely not.
proper meaty kind of 50 cal boom, I'm
You're a
happy with
bit
that.
more into it. Anyway, with those primary goals established, our team has been passionately working to deliver on our vision as our partner teams around the studio have been bringing Halo Infinite to life, which we've seen with this beautiful sniper image, which we saw last month.
So far, we've heard from art, graphics, live, sandbox, and the campaign team. A lot of fucking teams about some of their guiding principles and goals that drive their work they do on Halo Infinite. Does the audio team have similar high-level pillars that help shape your priorities and deliverables? Absolutely. Setting a clear, unified direction across teams is very important to deliver a compelling game experience, and it's even more critical and at times challenging with a large team.
Just quickly, that was the Tajima dude.
In our very first kickoff meeting, I still remember our art director, Sparf, having the exact same top goal as the audio team, recapturing the original essence of Halo, I think that's been this game's goal throughout. Like,
100%. You've seen that through all the marketing, haven't you?
yeah, that's 100% everything this game's kind of doubling down on, which is very exciting. The overall idea of returning to the original essence of Halo is heavily connected to the overall project vision of Halo Infinite being a spiritual reboot. Once again,
Yeah, they're reiterating this point.
yeah, this game is 100% a reboot to the franchise, which you've heard mentioned by other members of the team in prior blogs. When we talk about strengthening the excitement and impact of Halo's combat, that aligns with some of what Troy Mashburn was discussing last month's blog around the concept of supporting the super soldier vision for the player experience. It's been an exciting journey so far, and our audio team is committed to delivering on these two key goals to hit the Halo Infinite experience our players have wanted. Promising. I mean, it's just words right now, but it's promising.
I mean, is that Super Soldier Vision? That's not linking into what that dude was saying about Spartan story, is it?
No, I
I don't
think
think
so.
it is.
No, because that was the last
No.
blog.
Yeah.
Um,
But no, it all sounds good there, to be fair. That's the things you want to hear. You want to hear that they're trying to they've settled on these two
But-
key goals, haven't they? And it's like,
Well,
right, we just need to deliver
just
on
the
these.
title, of this next point or the next question. At the highest level, we often refer to Halo Infinite as a spiritual reboot. Genuinely, I'm quite curious actually how many times spiritual reboot has been mentioned. I think that'd be quite an interesting thing to see.
Have a count up.
Yeah. Can you explain what it means to you from a music perspective? For me, from a campaign music perspective, it's all about capturing brighter themes like hope and believe, while embracing the mystery and beauty of Zeta Halo. I love the scores for Halo 4 and 5, where we try to incorporate story very carefully, but as a result, tonally, it wasn't as hopeful as prior Halo games. The original games also had a dark element in their stories, but the music largely focused on the brighter side, which worked very well. Did it?
I was then sort of thinking,
There's dark songs in Halo. Halo 2
Uh,
especially.
yeah, I suppose.
I mean, they've
so.
all. I guess they've all been upbeat, but I'm thinking of a lot of Flood missions. There's been quite dark,
Yeah,
almost
but
scary
it
kind of
fit the
music.
stage then, didn't
Yeah,
it? Obviously, like,
it reflected what you were seeing on screen.
yeah, absolutely. But
I,
I mean, I think in a nice way he's trying to say, Halo 4 and 5 music clearly wasn't as successful as we wanted it to
mm,
be. We're going to try and take it back a little bit to what you guys liked.
yeah,
I think that's the general gist, isn't it?
yeah. I think that's more what he's going for there. I don't know if he necessarily meant it like that.
No.
I contemplated why the brighter music fits so well with the dark stories, and I think it simply boils down to because it's Master Chief.
Spot on.
Mm, mm, the
Go on,
Master
go on.
Chief. I get actually, yeah. I guess Master Chief is always a beacon of hope, isn't he?
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, the
yeah. I
man's
get
an
that.
absolute tank.
The Master Chief and Halo players have never been overwhelmed by challenging situations, even facing the potential end of humanity or the end of the universe. There's always a sense of hope and heroism and confidence. So when it comes to music in Infinite, we believe we should focus more on these brighter, positive themes and support Master Chief's story and the player's experience.
And then once again, another nice image of 343 style Forerunner tech with the big floaty bit.
I'm just going to dwell on this a little bit, not too much
Go on.
because we're kind of trying to go through this. But what do you think of like the hexagonal kind of cliff edges?
I'm not as big a fan of them as what I am the more traditional style. I'll be
Hmm.
honest. Um, it it's not like I don't like it. It just looks too simplistic to me.
Yeah,
It looks like it was a very easy copy and paste sort of addition. But saying that, I think on the floor,
I
like, as opposed to up the cliff faces, like
yeah
actually sort of like looking inward, it looks a lot. It looks cool. I'm a
yeah
fan of
no
it there.
this does look cool. Um, I do hope they haven't overdone it in the game, but
I
well I
fear they
guess
might have done, but again, there's it's one of those things we're gonna have to mull over when it comes out, probably.
hmm.
When it comes to the score specifically, how do you balance staying true to the past while also pushing to evolve and differentiate? Now, I'm interested in this, but for Infinite, we first identified our core pillars, one of which was mentioned above as hope. Another falls into the ancient mysteries sci-fi category. And the third is military honor, sense of duty. To be fair, you pick that up from a lot of the older sort of Halo music, don't you?
Hmm.
Connecting each of those together are common themes like a sense of wonder as well as heroism. We set out to bring back the brightness in tone from early Halo scores while continuing to evolve the palette, I hope that is, with new voices in the industry, at least new to Halo, to honour what has come before while introducing new themes and styles. Of course, this centres around the fact that you are the Master Chief. You are the ultimate super soldier with an unfaltering sense of duty while maintaining compassion, blasting alien baddies with this beautiful and even uplifting music as a soundtrack. I think they get it.
Yeah.
I think they
Well,
get what we want.
I mean, yeah. Right now, and I think it has been clear throughout Infinite's development, they're saying the right things. They're if their actions match these words that they're saying, I think this game's going to be
Yeah,
amazing.
you
Definitely.
really got to hope they can deliver. But
Yeah.
an important aspect we identified for the composers even, and factored into how we selected them, was having a level of comfort writing in major keys, not being shy to end with a major chord or inserting one where it might not be expected. And the last bit plays. Oh, sorry, what? Right, fuck it. I'll redo this paragraph because I need to change up how I'm sitting anyway because my chair was creaking.
I had a fucking notification in the middle of it anyway, so yeah.
Brilliant. An important aspect we identified for the composers, and factored into how we selected them, was having a level of comfort writing in major keys, not being shy to end with a major chord or inserting one where it might not be expected. And that last bit plays into another aspect we were after by not always moving into the next expected chord in a given chord progression, but instead surprise me. One quote that Paul Crocker, our associate creative director, shared early on with the entire Infinite team was to take the familiar and flip it to create something surprising, but not wholly unfamiliar. Musically, that made a lot of sense and became one of our guideposts along the way. You can really see that from what they released. Like there was some definite inspiration there with some of the tracks. I think it's "Walking in the Trees" is or something like that is very similar
Yeah.
to "A
Uh,
Walk in the Woods." from the
All
older
three
Combat Evolved.
had snippets from original songs. Like they're still new, they're new songs and they've got their own thing
Yeah,
going. But yeah, they're new. They're a new kind of. They're pretty much like the new art style. It's old but new.
essentially. When pushing things further and evolving the score, it became a very collaborative effort with each of the composers. Wanting to marry the unique pillars of Halo music with the unique voices of each composer was as organic as we could make it. From building our own custom music sample libraries to tapping into the years of experience each composer's brought through unique styles and even ensembles that are foreign to Halo, we were able to push certain aspects further while still also setting us up for future development, which is incredibly exciting. I agree, that is very exciting.
I mean, that sounds like there's going to be kind of a lot coming post. To be fair, with the little,
Possibly through DLCs,
yeah,
which is a big sort of talking point, which I'm sure we'll get into at some point,
yeah.
some video later down
I
the
don't
line.
think they go through it in this one, but
No,
yeah,
I'd be
hopefully we'll.
surprised. Our ultimate goal with the music has been to say to those who have never played Halo, welcome, and to those who have played Halo and love it as much as we do, welcome home. That's a very cool line.
Mm.
That, yeah, that's cool. I'm a fan of
Well
that.
said, sir.
Well said. What was the dude's name? It was JY. How
Joel Yager.
Joel Yager. Joel Yager, you've smashed it, my friend. Um, right.
Give this man a race.
How was the decision made to partner with three composers for the soundtrack? Can you speak about some of the unique challenges and opportunities that come from working with a trifecta of composers? Largely remotely at that. Yeah, that's true. You've got to give them a
Yeah.
little bit of slack here. Look, they've obviously had to deal with this
Yeah, you can't have these
during a
massive
pandemic.
orchestras all recording. Yeah,
No. Can you
almost
imagine an
just.
orchestra with
Can
face
can
masks
you
on?
record this bit on the violin while someone else records this bit on the piano separate from you?
I'm just picturing loads of people stood in a room with face masks on, trying to shout as loud as possible.
Oh
Anyway,
dear.
with the scope of Halo Infinite, name says it all, being larger than any other previous game, we established early on that we would need 3 or 4 hours of written music. This covers the campaign and does not include our multiplayer experience, which would be fun to discuss more in the future. So I
Three
guess we could
hours of
have like
soundtrack. Oh,
between 3 and 4 hours of soundtrack.
yeah. If that is, I know a lot of that's going to be kind of filler and stuff that can be looped quite easily, but
Yeah,
if it's all to the kind of same standard or even half the standard of what we've heard so far, then I'm happy with that.
yeah. I mean, you've had that in previous games as well, haven't you? Where you've had like the recycling of like certain songs
Mm.
within a piece. But yeah, when it comes to multiplayer, I guess what would that like? There's obviously not going to be music within the multiplayer games. It'd just be like menu stuff, I presume, wouldn't it?
It'd be like the victory screen or whatever and all that, wouldn't it? Yeah, be a
Yeah,
main menu while you're browsing as well. To be fair, Halo Reach did have some soundtrack in multiplayer, in like Invasion and all that.
did
So
it?
yeah,
Oh yeah, I suppose so.
when you like won an invasion or like when you're winning an invasion or it's getting close to the end, it tends to kind of ramp up a little bit.
Du-du, du-du-du-du-du-du-du. That's that one, isn't
Yeah.
it? Which you can definitely not tell from Dudders, but in my head I got it going. Right, anyway, the past Halo games have relied on duos and even trios of composers to cover various aspects of themes, narrative threads, locations, and even styles. We are very fortunate to have found three individuals who each bring unique talents, perspectives, voices, and especially a passion for Halo and its long history. Between Gareth Cooker's mature command of an orchestra, Curtis Schwitzer's, I'm sorry, dude, intimate choral and piano writing, and Joel Korolitz's mastery of synths and unique sounds, I think we have a fantastic composer team that will continue to push Halo into new areas as well as into the future. It is important to note that Curtis, I'm sorry, dude, Gareth, Curtis, and Joel covered many different themes, areas, and styles, and were definitely not limited to what I've mentioned above. So essentially, there's three dudes, they've brought new stuff to it. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
the
That's pretty much it.
yeah. Well,
Go on.
yeah, they have brought yeah, there is new things in the soundtrack, and yeah, they've definitely brought that into them.
Good. In terms of being remote, many composers and dev teams are used to working in separate cities, states, and countries. With 343 based in Redmond and our composers in places like LA, Chicago, and Colorado, there wasn't a major impact or change into how we were already writing the music for Halo Infinite. Where we did see a unique set of challenges was in producing and recording all of the live elements of the remaining 2 hours of our score during a global pandemic. Well, the first 2 hours is going to be okay then, at the very least. Remote recording itself isn't new and is common across various scenarios, but this amount of music, coupled with completely new, socially distanced, safety-orientated procedures, schedules, and even seating layouts, which are all in uncharted territories for everyone involved. All that being said, every single person involved in the production of Infinite Score rose to the occasion and met these challenges with superb results. Well, that's good to hear. But yeah, that touches on what we were speaking about earlier, wasn't it? That the pandemic could affect sort of how they do sort this stuff out.
Yeah, it's definitely caused issues. I think in the audio department, probably the least, but I think it's still. I'm not saying that in a way where it's like it's not caused any issues. No, it's still definitely caused them issues.
Yeah, you'd think so. Um, for sound design, the team has made a number of improvements and updates to the soundscape since Halo 5. Can you talk about the work done to help drive more immersion and excitement through audio? This is Tashima, this dude? I think it's
Yeah,
this dude.
that's Tashima.
Right. Great question, actually. We've made a big change in our overall sound effects direction for Halo Infinite. With 4 and 5, our approach was on detailed sounds. We tried to deliver as much audio detail as possible, capturing pretty much everything which was happening on screen. However, that approach didn't actually work out as well as we'd have liked. The results was too many sounds consistently playing, which made it more difficult for some of the more important sounds, like enemy weapon fire, explosions, or bullet impacts, to really register with the player. I'm trying to think of examples where that's happened in the past, like whilst playing 4 and 5.
Um, yeah, no, I'm trying to. It might be more of a subconscious thing, to be fair. Like you might not
Possibly.
necessarily realize you didn't hear it.
No, that's possible. Um, a typical piece of feedback we received from Halo 5 was, it sounds rich, but I often can't hear the enemy's weapon when they fire at me. We also heard that the AI combat wasn't as fun as some players wanted, and we felt that the audio should be a bigger contributor to that. Um, I
I,
mean, AI combat was different in 5 on the sheer number of
I
bloody
think that
enemies
was
that you
more of a
had.
gameplay issue than an audio issue.
Yeah.
I
It
mean,
sounds like the
Halo
audio was sort
5.
of limited to what obviously the actual game developers were doing.
I think the only issues I mean, Halo 5 mostly went in the positive for AI sounds. Like the elites were speaking English again, they went to speaking English again.
Mm,
The gun sounds were a bit. Some of the alien gun sounds were a bit pew pewy, but I think besides yeah, I don't think that was much of a problem. I don't think that was a sound issue.
no. Or there might have been, we personally didn't notice it. But with this feedback in mind, we decided to focus on strengthening the excitement and impact of Halo's combat through improved audio. We established the concepts just months after shipping Halo 5, and since then, our team has worked together to deliver this goal. Our overall approach to land this concept was delivering the key combat sounds in a clear and impactful way. To achieve that, we had to reduce sound density dramatically in a natural way. Of course, this isn't really as simple as it sounds. As mentioned above, our audio contents and systems were designed for detailed and rich audio within Halo 4 and Halo 5. So this new direction was pretty much the opposite approach compared to our last 2 games. Is that their way of sort of saying that if this is bad, then we had to do it a completely different way. So
Yeah,
sorry,
they're getting
we're not
excuses
used to
in
it.
early.
Yeah, but everything what they've said so far seems to make
Yeah,
sense.
I mean, I mean, I don't really see what the issue is with turning down the background sounds. You can still have the rich background sounds. You just don't want a turbine spinning, bit like deafening your ears.
No,
Like you just want there to kind of be a background hum where maybe if you stood right next to it, then yeah, it's quite loud.
Yeah, I'd say so. Um, Even though we knew it would be a tremendous amount of work, we decided to re-establish sound contents and systems almost from scratch as a first priority for the very start of Halo Infinite development. It was a tough and long load, but I'm incredibly proud of the amazing work across my team to help realise our new vision. Audio devs, audio technical designers, sound designers, and even our music team all work together bringing ideas from each team's perspective to hit the one single goal, which is a cleaner and more impactful audio. Well, that's good. Let me share one example of how our team tried to achieve that. Alright. There are many gun sounds in our game. Multiple enemies, teammates, and players are constantly firing weapons. In past Halo titles, we handled each gunfire listening volume purely by distance. So all gun sound volumes were exactly the same if they were originating from the same distance. As a result, we had too many loud gun sounds constantly overwhelming a player, which made it very difficult to detect the true threat position. Okay. The new Halo Infinite audio system detects all gun sounds frame by frame and prioritizes them in a threat order to decide the output sound volume for each gun. With this mechanic, if a gunshot is aimed at the player, the sound will be louder than if it is not aimed at the player or if it's a teammate's gunfire. That's cool. The new Halo Infinite audio system detects all gun sounds frame by frame and prioritizes them in threat order to decide the output sound volume for each gun. With this mechanic, if a gunshot is aimed at the player, the sound will be louder than if it is not aimed at the player. Or if it's the teammate's gunfire, the sound will be audible but still quieter. Then you can only hear threatening sounds, essentially. That's what that says. Sorry, there's a lot of words missing in that, which threw me off. But basically, if the gun's aimed at you and you're getting fire at you, it's going to be louder than if it's not fired at you. That's awesome. Just saying. I don't know what you think about that, Bailey.
Yeah,
That reminds me of like a siege thing.
yeah, that's definitely a good thing.
Hmm. I mean, Pro Scene is probably going to love that as well, aren't they?
Yeah, you'd think so. Yeah, I hope they haven't completely. I mean, it doesn't sound like they have, but I hope they don't completely wash out other gunfire sounds. I don't want to be just because I was near someone shooting or whatever. I didn't hear a sniper round go off or something. I don't think they will, but yeah, I like you don't want that. You still want to know when
No.
there's a sniper on the field.
With the cleaner audio feedback, players can ascertain the appropriate threat to make the right action quicker and more accurately, which results in a more immersive and exciting combat experience for Halo Infinite. So yeah, going off what we just said just now, obviously the pros, the people who are very good at Halo, are going to absolutely love that. You'd think, knowing where the gunfire is actually coming from, and then we have a very nice picture of what looks like George in Infinite, which is awesome.
George with a J, not George with a G.
Yeah, yeah, the
Yeah,
much cooler one.
yeah. You can't really see the other Spartans though. He's got like a orange arm, which is a funky one. Well, I think we might have seen this
Yeah,
picture before.
I think
Not
we
sure.
have seen this picture before. Yeah.
Oh, looks like we're getting onto the actual audio bites. Can you talk about your content design approach to the sounds we'll hear in Halo Infinite? For Infinite, we really changed our approach for how we went about authoring our content. The main thing it revolved around is keeping the mix in mind. In previous games, our assets were relatively longer, incredibly compressed, and oversaturated. This in turn would cause other sounds to compete with each other and lead to a very fatiguing experience over time. The solution to this is to be strict about overall dynamics with keeping the assets short and compact. Previously, assets would have a long decay time which would be at the same amplitude as the initial start of the sound. This would carry on for too long, which could look like this.
As you can see on
Bit of
screen.
audio sound, and apparently that's too long. In the picture above, you can see the asset stays at the peak for too long. For Infinite, we now offer the content to have a shorter duration at which it is at its peak loudness, which would look more like this.
I mean,
Uh,
that just means that the sound is going to be more impactful, isn't it? Essentially,
it's
the
not going to
duration will be
linger.
shorter. No.
The sound isn't going to linger.
Okay.
Which I kind of like when in Halo 4 and 5 I actually quite like the sniper sound effect because it kind of echoes.
Like, yeah, you get more of a travel,
You
don't you?
kind of fire it and then you can kind of hear it echo, and I get how that interfere with other sounds, but I've personally quite liked that.
I can see it both ways. I mean, I feel like this is one of them where they've clearly noticed that they needed to go over audio, so they've just gone, fuck it,
They've done
we're doing
everything.
everything different.
As you can see in the figure above, the new approach has dramatically shorter time in which it stays at the peak amplitude. It has a sharp attack and begins to decay quickly. This creates a greater sense of dynamics and helps carve out some space in the overall mix. Here goes another comparison of a Halo 5 BR top image and Infinite BR bottom image, as heard from the third person perspective. Okay, that still has a bit of that echo, to be fair.
Fair enough.
Like there's still a bit of echo, yeah. It's not. It doesn't linger too long, but it does still have a bit of echo. I'm alright with that. Impacts are much shorter, which helps in being able to hear the distinct free shots clearly. We also have more space in between your shots, which can help clean things up. By not designing every sound to be over the top, it allows us to create bigger moments and have more impactful experience for things that should be loud and in your face. Yeah, yeah. No, if a bloody massive explosion or bombs going off, I want that to drown out the gun. I don't care about the gun at
Oh,
that point.
absolutely. Yeah, it brings more of like an environmental element to it, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Like if you're in the middle of a war, you don't want to be hearing the gun next to you if, like, I don't know, half of a forerunner spy is coming down.
yeah, exactly. Along with having a better sense of dynamic range in our content, as Tajin, is that what we agreed on? I don't know what we agreed. How you pronounce
Tajine,
it? Tajin. Sorry, dude.
one of the
Men-
two, man. We're sorry.
mentioned we are also very careful about the amount of detail we use in any given sound. As a designer, your first instinct is to want to make everything as shiny and epic as possible, which is great if played in isolation. But when it's heard with 50 plus 100 other sounds playing at the same time, it will completely compromise the overall mix of the game. This really forced the mentality that is not about the individual parts, but how it all comes together as a whole. Through these approaches, I really feel that our game has a great sense of clarity, more depth to the sound field, and allows you to take in the most important audio feedback.
So again, very much of what we were just saying.
Mm.
Get it all together, as in fully immersive experience type deal. That's what I've sort of picked up from that.
What? We got the. It looks like we got some audio ricochet kind of thing going on.
Well, it sounds that way.
Well, yeah, I mean, looking in the image just now coming up.
Oh,
Uh,
you skipped ahead.
well, I scrolled down.
Fair enough.
Um, and from a systems perspective, how do you achieve your goal of making combat more immersive for our players? We are so excited for players to experience the new audio systems and technologies we've developed for Halo Infinite. We've spent the past several years developing new systems across the entire game, many of them with the explicit goal of supporting Tajin's direction to prioritize clear, impactful, and satisfying combat sounds. This has helped create a more immersive combat experience by really maximizing the impact of the most important sounds. One of the most exciting is our custom built acoustic simulation system developed exclusively for Halo Infinite. This was one of the first new systems we worked with for this game, and certainly the one we spent the most development time perfecting, tuning, and optimizing. This system simulates the way sound travels through the environment, reflecting off walls and filtering through doors and windows.
So that's what we were touching on earlier in the sense of the environment. In the
Yeah,
sense, obviously,
I mean,
if a bullet's going to hit something, it's going to sound different than if
that
it hits something else.
I mean, they're making this out like it's a new kind of idea. Having if a gun's shot in a room ahead of you, you're going to hear it come through the door. You're not going to hear it come through the wall.
Mm.
Games have had this for a while, like Rainbow Six Siege and all that. This isn't a new system. I understand it's fairly new for Halo, but it's not new in terms of like groundbreaking technology.
No, I guess it's just showing improvement, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's improvement. It's good. I'm definitely happy it's in Halo.
Yeah.
Our acoustic system uses concepts like obstruction, occlusion, propagation, and reverberation to make sounds really feel like they're in that space. Whether it's in the next room over, behind a large boulder, or something else altogether. The system uses a hybrid of voxelization, I think that word is,
I'd go with that.
um,
Sounded right.
with room and portal finding to create a more immersive, natural soundscape. In a room and portal system, sounds travel from room to room through doorways, windows, and other portals. These paths are used to determine the shortest distance the sound could travel to get from the room the sound is playing from to the room where the listener is located.
That's weird wording there, but I know what they mean.
Yeah, I think there was just an extra from in there that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
We then calculate the angles and distance of the path segments and use that to determine how much to filter, i.e. muffle, the sound. Last we project the sound along the path between the listener and the closest portal to create a virtual position to simulate the sound propagation. The virtual source is where the sound plays from, so it sounds like it's coming from the direction of the doorway rather than directly from the source itself, as you can see in the following diagram. So yeah,
Mate, this looks like fucking science shit.
basically, you're not going to hear shots through walls. You're going to hear them from the path of least resistance, which is a door.
Okay. I mean, that's good, I suppose.
Yeah, that's literally what like Siege and all that have.
Yeah.
Basically, if there's a hole in the wall and something happens in that room, you'll hear it through the hole in the wall.
Okay, yeah, we love that. Right. Once we've determined the propagated paths from other rooms, we calculate paths around obstructions within the same room as the listener. This part of acoustic simulation system utilizes voxelization technology. Bloody hell, that's a mouthful.
I'll pretend to know what voxelization is.
Yeah, same. Which can be thought of as 3D pixels. These voxels, i.e. uniform boxes that fill an entire environment, create a very simple approximation of the environment. We can more efficiently pass through this simplified environment to determine how much to filter the sound around obstructions such as rocks, pillars, crates, etc. You can see our voxel debug in the following image, which illustrates the optimized version of this map that sounds will travel through. So basically, it's a sound heat map.
Yeah, it's basically a simplified rendering of the map so that the sound obviously isn't going to tax everything when it's trying to bounce off of walls.
Cool. We also propagated the sound path to determine how much reverberation, aka reverb, if you're a cool kid, to add to the sounds. To add to the sounds. If a segment of the propagated sound path travelled through a large room, we will apply a proportionally larger reverb to that sound. If another segment travels through a small hallway, we will also apply a proportionally narrower reverb, big word there, to the sound. This creates a very natural blend of multiple reverbs as the listener and sounds move throughout the environment, giving the player a real sense of spatial awareness. Again, they're just reinforcing this point, aren't they?
Yeah, they're hammering this point home. They're clearly quite proud of this system they developed. Which, to be fair, I'm pretty sure it's the first time Halo's had anything like this. So
it looks impressive, but I feel like that's half because most people aren't going to know what they're looking at. But it does look impressive. One other way we're increasing spatial awareness in Halo Infinite is through virtual surround sound. Halo Infinite will be the very first Halo title to support the virtual surround sound technologies Dolby Atmos, Windows Sonic, and DTS Headphone X. These spatial audio technologies allow us to make the sounds feel like they're playing behind you or above you while you're wearing stereo headphones. We've created a custom setup for our in-game sound so that you'll get a clear separation between spatial and non-spatial content. This way, whether playing with headphones or on a surround sound system, you can very clearly tell exactly where your enemies are in combat. Pro players going to love it. That's all I'm going to say. Pro players going to absolutely love it.
Well, that's just a good thing for everyone, to be fair. Like, it's annoying when you hear something behind you and it turns out it's like below you or something.
Yeah, no, it's really going to add depth to the gameplay, isn't it? Sort of give it. Again, it's all about this sense of environment and like immersion, isn't it? They seem to really be harkening home with this. Right. We've shared and shown how Halo Infinite is the most expansive Halo game yet. How does this factor into building and delivering audio in the game? Are there any new challenges and considerations given the less linear, less constrained nature of some of the game's campaign experience? CT, don't remember that, dude. Think it was Curtis something? I don't know. We'll check it later. Absolutely. One of the biggest challenges of this game has been creating a dynamic ambient soundscape across such an expansive environment. In past Halo games, we've had to manually place every ambient sound in the entire game, including things like birds, wind, rivers, trees rustling, etc. We knew that this approach wouldn't be feasible for Infinite, so we partnered with the graphics team to utilize the technology they build for populating the environment with visual decorators such as grass, bushes, and flowers. We use this system to procedurally place hundreds of thousands of audio emitters across the ring. I mean, that just makes sense. So they're just essentially, you've got a sound when you walk through a bit of grass.
It's an automated system, which is to be expected on a game this scope. Like, Jesus Christ. I mean, you look how many dots are on that image alone. You wouldn't want to manually place all of them.
The system uses color-coordinated debug wireframes to display where the sounds will be placed in the environment. So yeah, I'm guessing these little blue dots are when you're in shallow water.
Each dot
black
is
dots when you're in deep water.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very cool to see this visualized. I'll be honest. It's very interesting. Getting the sounds placed is just the first step. We also built a brand new system for controlling dynamic playback of ambient sounds. Each placement is actually a system combining a complex set of rules that logic determines which sound to play, how often, and when. A variety of factors feed into the system, combining gameplay states, time of day, location tracking, timers, and more, all working together to bring the environment to life. This gives us the ability to create a dynamic mix of ambient sounds that remains compelling and immersive the entire time you are playing. So that's sort of what we touched on already, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, things are going to change depending on what you're doing. Which, again, is awesome. It's not just going to be carbon copy. It looks like there's going to be variation within the gameplay.
Yeah, there's a lot. It doesn't sound like it's going to be repetitive, even though the game's this massive, pseudo open world kind of thing, whatever they're planning on doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like you're going to be hearing the same thing over and over again.
There is then a link to a YouTube video. So we've just heard from that little YouTube video, which should have played, hopefully. There's some very sort of almost like horror elements added to that, from my perspective, anyway. Like all the ambient noise just seemed very sort of mysterious. Um, I don't know about you, baby.
It's definitely got more back to that sort of, Forerunner mystery. Like this place is still running, but you don't really know what's going on. I personally quite like that. If you're kind of hearing that while going through a Forerunner structure, I think that would be quite good.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of like you could hear them almost like machinery. It felt like big sort of pieces of Forerunner tech, like sort of moving as they do. And at the end there, it sounded like a door opening to me. I don't know if you sort of got that. It just sounded as if it was a little bit closer to the player, which I presume, which is the perspective that's from.
Hmm.
I don't know, definitely not the worst thing we've heard. Anyway. When it comes to developing sound effects for Halo Infinite, how does the team balance the traditional iconic sounds fans are used to with the desire to evolve? KF. Don't remember this. Oh, Fraser. Something Fraser. Whenever starting on a redesign of a classic Halo item, we always start by asking ourselves how this should be evolved. A lot of times we change content so that it matches the direction and overall sonic quality of the assets we're creating. The first thing we begin with a redesign is listening to the original audio files and then start dissecting it to try and find the essence of it. Over the years, we've tried to absorb as much feedback from the community as possible, as our opinion matters greatly to us. Good. It was this feedback that helped us decide to bring back the original Master Chief Shield sounds. Love it. That's what you want to be hearing. Don't want any fucking Halo 5 bullshit. There was a lot of inspiration from the original trilogy that we incorporated into some of our new designs. I think people will experience a strong dose of nostalgia when playing this game. Fuck me, you could have said that. The amount you've been ramming that down our
You
throats.
think you're
Spiritual
going for a
reboot.
nostalgia
Back to
drive? You
basics.
don't say.
Yeah. Yeah, they've definitely hammered that point home there. Likewise, you can share your process with us for creating a brand new, never before heard sound effect in Halo Infinite. We've shown a number of new weapons thus far. How does the audio team partner with design and art to land on a new audio palette for the new additions? When starting the production on a new weapon, we first sync with the sandbox designers and get an overview of the weapon. We usually get involved after there's a working prototype in-game and we've had some concept art on the design's final intent. While experiencing the prototype in-game, we start envisioning how it should feel and sound. I mean, that makes sense. The design process always begins with acquiring your source. This is why we record a lot during pre-production, so that we can have a lot of source material to build and design assets with. We then palletize this source into different elements that will be used, such as impacts, explosions, electricity, synthetic, chemical reactions, mechanics, etc. But me, there's a lot of different things there. I would have just thought gun sound, but fair enough. Usually, we have a general idea of how we want it to sound in our heads, and we begin assembling the ingredients necessary to make that come to life. Once we're happy, we check into the game and get more ears on it, have people playtest with it, and collect valuable feedback. Well, that's what you want, isn't it? Because if one dude was just designing all of this, you'd be very upset if he got something wrong. To give a picture of this process, here is an example of the new banished power weapon called the Skewer. A power weapon, okay. This weapon's audio was designed by Mike Leaning, one of the many talented sound designers who contribute to Halo Infinite. Is there any way we can click on it and listen to it? It doesn't appear so.
It's got a link.
But
oh no, it's just a link to a bigger image.
It's just a link to the image. It's a fucking cool image.
Yeah.
We'll put something on the socials about that. That looks awesome.
There is some more audio ahead as well that might be.
Oh, it might be included later. You'd have to stick around to find out. When thinking of the Banished, the first thing that comes to mind is brute. The word brute is savage and violent. Very true.
Yeah.
So it only makes sense that this is conveyed in audio, with making it sounding powerful, animalistic, and visceral. Yeah, I mean, that links a lot to like the Mauler and Spiker. I mean, obviously all of them, Brute Shot, Mauler, Spiker, you get that is conveyed a lot.
You kind of want them to sound almost like kind of almost like a caveman kind of threw it together almost. It is very,
Essentially.
it's just very thrown together just to be as lethal and savage as possible.
Yeah. The banished weaponry has a more primitive feel. That sort of touches on what
Yeah.
you were just saying with the caveman stuff. Than some of the other factions. So this calls for having a strong sense of organic matter in the content. This helps give a strong grounding and sell the mechanical nature of them. Even though I mentioned primitive in my previous sentence, the brutes are generally high intelligent and use this knowledge to incorporate more advancements of technology into their equipment. So it makes sure to bring along some interesting sci-fi elements to help sell the fantasy. That's true. I doubt that fuck off big knife on the front is standard issue. Like that looks awesome.
Yeah, that does look like. Oh, yeah, that looks like that's got some sort of brute equivalent of like a leather wrap or whatever around the handguard and the grip and all that.
When designing our weapons, we will have them set up as follows. Impact, punch and body. This is the foundation of the weapon fire as it gives the initial transient smack, low end thud, and provides a ground element to build upon. That sounds meaty.
Yeah, that's very meaty.
I mean, it's at the power weapon, so you got to think it's probably going to be sort of something along the lines of that. Maybe like I would say a shotgun, but
Kind of a big ass bullet type thing.
yeah. Well, that fuck off big spike might be the bullet, to be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably is, honestly. Maybe it's like a harpoon gun type thing. Alright, well, the impact sounded good. Mech. Since the skewer fires a large spear, there we go, we were right. It really needs some strong mechanical elements, such as thick metal clanks and deep slides.
I feel like that's a sound that needs a bit of context.
Yeah, but I presume that's gonna come in
That
heavily
sounds
with
like
the
a
reloading,
reload.
isn't it?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds like you kind of, or yeah, reload or just kind of fired or whatever.
yeah. Sci-fi. Processed and synthetic layers used to give a unique alien feel.
That's just a squeaky fucking door.
It sounds like somebody's let off a wet fart. Um, I'm hoping there's a mash of it all together.
Yeah.
Um, Tails. This gives us a sense of the environment in which the gun is being fired in. The reflections of the gunshot bouncing off the environment. We design unique tails for different environments so that your gun fire will sound slightly different depending on if you're in an open field, a narrow interior, a medium interior, or a large interior space.
That
That's
sounds
cool.
cool. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
liking the sound of that. So,
Uh,
like I was saying earlier, I liked the echo. I liked the kind of reverb and everything you got when a shot was fired.
yeah. That again is linking heavily to what they were saying previous, though, isn't it? About how the sounds are gonna be different depending on where you're hearing them from. So
Mm.
again, if you're in a small interior and it's fired from a medium one, I presume that the sound will actually differ depending on which person hearing it, which is cool, as opposed
Yeah.
to just this constant sound of it being fired. This Tails also really helps sell the power and size of the weapon. More alien weapons, we also incorporate more interesting textures into the tails to help it sound more exotic, like the tonal textures heard in this example.
That sounds like a really off in the distance kind of explosion or something.
Yeah, it just sounds like you've sent it across the bloody canyon. It's just blown up someone on the other end.
Yeah, you just managed to hit a car or something and just blew it up.
Yeah. The skewer, being a powerful weapon, has a slow fire rate and deals a whole lot of damage. Cool. So it is like a proper heavy weapon. Let's just stray away from our core design process I was describing earlier and really go over the top with it. Mike did a killer job nailing the aesthetic with this one. Here goes all the layers packed together. Right, let's see what this thing sounds like. It sounds cool.
Yeah, yeah,
It
that's
sounds really cool. I think they've killed it with that one. Literally, Mike, killer job. We also designed unique content for a third person slash non-player version. Ah, so that is what I was chatting about earlier, how different players are going to hear it differently. It is derived from the player's assets, but is not only a copy. The content is authorized so it has a slightly less punch and detail and a bit snappier, so it has a nice contrast against the player version. For the third-person content, we create close, mid, and far variations to help stimulate the perspectives of hearing the sound from different distances. This approach really helps to add more overall depth and believability to the soundscape.
How do field recordings factor into the sound design work you do? Do most sounds in games stem from various audio references from the real world? What's the most memorable field recording session you've participated in? Just before reading this, I know a lot of like the grunt sound effects are from like one of the 343 sound devs'
They're from
pet pug.
they're from a
They've
dog,
got a
aren't
pet
they?
pug and they like get a microphone right close and all of his little grunts and all that are used for the grunts in Halo, which I think is quite
Yeah,
cool
I've
to be
seen
fair.
that video. That's cool.
Field recording is pretty essential in the way we work. It allows us to have a fresh collection of material that we can use at our disposal when crafting sound. This allows us to design more efficiently since we have a better knowledge of the material and know where to go for it, along with having a good array of variations and perspectives to work with. We set out early in the project to record as many sounds as possible. Since we have all been working on this franchise for a while, we have a good idea of the types of sounds we will need. The majority of recordings we do are always used out of context. We will set out to record things that will be useful textures and components to build our sounds from. There was a we in there, shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, we set out to record things that we will be useful textures. Come on, Infinite, get with it. But no, so essentially what they said there, let's just sort of like depack that. Um, I, yeah, I don't really know where to go with it.
That's just sounds like they were kind of recorded anything and everything, which isn't a bad thing. It's better to have stuff than not to have stuff, I'd say.
Yeah, just sort of like get a big array of stuff that they've got, almost like a big old portfolio type deal,
Pretty
and
much,
pull
yeah.
different things from it, can't they?
For sounds that are UNSC related, they are mostly all derived from the real world. For things that don't exist in our world, we have to create it ourselves, and we do this by using sounds from our world. Well, no shit. I don't think
No,
you're
they're
getting
just gonna
sounds from bloody Mars, mate.
pocket dimension. Out they go. Get some sounds.
Once we take these real world sounds out of context and combine them with other sounds and apply various processing techniques, we are able to shape and form it into something new. I think it's beneficial to use real recordings for designing sci fi sounds as it helps create a connection with the listener, form a sense of familiarity, yet still sounding outerworldly, or otherworldly, sorry, at the same time. We also incorporate a good amount of synthesis in our design using a wide selection of modular and soft synths.
That sounds like big audio language to me,
Yeah.
but I'm sure that they're doing right. Basically, sci-fi sounds still made in the real world, but they've just sort of taken stuff and made it sound sort of different, I suppose,
I
haven't
mean,
they? They've
I
just
guess it's
shaped
they're
it.
basically saying they've actually made the sounds rather than generating it with a computer.
Yeah, yeah, they've used like
Which here and all there. I'm not
suppose.
exactly big on sound design. I mean, we're not understanding half of these words. So
I mean, no, you get the general message that they're trying to get across,
yeah.
I suppose.
Favorite field recording session? That's a tough one, as I feel like most sessions always take a special place in your heart. I mean, yeah. Look at that. The rest of this, he's going into his recording sessions and what he thought of them,
Yeah,
which isn't much about Halo. So I think I am going to skip over this.
nah, we'll
Nothing
just quickly
against
skip
the
through this
bloke,
bit.
but
We're
um,
sure the guy has had many a good audio recording session, but at the
yeah,
same time, we want to know about Infinite.
yeah, we're here for the Infinite news.
It looks like they've also done a little video on how they've actually recorded audio fields for Halo Infinite. Something to do with piano pounding. Sounds quite interesting. We're not going to play that in this video because honestly, this video is long enough as it is. But just go on to Inside Infinite, check it out for yourselves. It is quite cool. We have seen it, but again, we can't include it in this video. What types of similarities and differences are there when it comes to Halo multiplayer and campaign audio? We focus on really emphasizing the combat sounds in multiplayer to help deliver a more immersive game experience. We also have very cool new music direction in multiplayer, which Joel can surely speak more about in the future. Looking forward to that. Players can enjoy it in many places, like searching matchmaking or intro and outro screens. But we're keeping the music minimal in the match itself to focus on the clear, impactful combat audio. So yeah, what we were saying earlier, there was a little bit of music in actual gameplay before, like in Invasion and stuff. But it looks like they're going to keep it more to menus, which
Yeah,
again isn't bad. Like you can
no,
see exactly where they're coming from. You got to focus on actual in-game audio, gun sounds, explosions,
yeah,
shit like that.
it's not. It's no like deal breaker or anything. That's fair enough.
That's something that would have been a deal breaker though, just reading this on. Of course, we didn't forget about the fans' favourite Halo multiplayer announcer voice in there as well. Thank fuck that man's back. He was awesome.
I want to hear
I've
that
forgotten
man
the
say
dude's
yoink
name.
again.
Yoink. I can't remember the dude's name. Um, oh, it's gonna bug me. Can you put that up
Oh,
in the video? What his name is?
yeah, I'll put
I
that in the
think I
video.
want to say it's Jeff something. But anyway, we're getting off topic. Um, on the other hand, we're focusing more on supporting story elements and event sounds in campaign. We have the improved combat sounds in the campaign, of course, but we're cleaning up the audio mix a bit so that players can really enjoy the story elements such as voiceover and music. Awesome. We're also trying to make each campaign event impactful, satisfying, and even surprising, as there are many exciting design elements for actions such as defeating certain characters, destroying objects, or surprise enemy reinforcements showing up. Okay, so there's going to be like an audio trigger when, like, I don't know,
Kind of an
more
oh shit sound.
more banished pop in. For campaign, we really want to deliver on the feeling that combat itself is much more exciting, but also really emphasise when special moments occur. Brilliant. So you might get some very memorable moments in the campaign when music kicks in, which is something that's been lacking in the last couple of Halos. The only one that springs to mind in 343 era is the Midnight.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. That's the only. Whereas then you can think of a lot of Bungie era stuff and the amount of just cutscenes and scenes where you've got epic music blur, and then it's good to see they're kind of going back to that.
Absolutely. We also have another very cool image of what looks to be a multiplayer map. I think we've looked at this. Oh, it is a multiplayer map. Says it at the bottom.
But this is the same.
We've seen this one before.
That's the same image they were just showing with the sound boxes on, or the
just
voxels.
From a different angle.
Yeah, I think this is the only actual multiplayer map we've seen so far.
Yeah. Well, it looks good so far. Anyway, what's your personal favourite audio element in Halo Infinite and why? Oh, look, all of them are talking now. Isn't that sweet? I'm always excited when I just walk around the world of Zeta Halo. I feel something special and emotional for Halo there through music, ambience, and art. I love the combat sounds too. The clearer audio helps grasp the combat situation frame by frame and brings me more enjoyment when I'm playing. I mean, I can sort of agree with that in a way. I guess just wandering around like parts of Halo Ring and Combat Evolved, like there was a lot of just ambient sort of noise and music that was occurring, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was always, especially when you were around 4 and stuff, there was kind of a bigger picture going on that you didn't really quite understand. You know, you had like the structures firing off, the occasional little blue fireball into the sky, whatever. You're like, what the hell's that? What's going on?
Yeah. KF, I think that's Kevin something, or Fraser, something Fraser. Maybe Kevin Fraser. You never know. That's a tough question, as there is so much great content in this game. But some that will come to my mind are the grapple shot sounds that Robbie Elias created. Jury's still out on the grapple shot for me, but anyway. What I like is that they are not overly designed, and they have a firm grounding to them. It works well with game mechanics and syncs nicely with the animations. I also like that the new redacted sounds that Stefan Rutherford designed. So basically, he said something there he's not meant to. I feel like the sound makes you want to use this weapon as it feels so powerful and fulfilling to use. Ooh, there's a new weapon in there. Lastly, the new vehicle designs that Jomo Kangithati, maybe, something like that, sorry mate, did have a great upgrade to the experience. Especially loved the new something sounds. So essentially, new vehicle confirmed, more new guns confirmed, that we haven't seen, you'd assume, because if not, it wouldn't be redacted. That's interesting. That's a good little tidbit there.
Happy to speculate on what they'll end up being.
We might make a video on that. You will have to wait and see. JY. It's hard to pick just one. The crisp, clear, and powerful weapons are so satisfying. I mean, going off what we heard earlier, yeah, they sound pretty awesome. The voice acting and directing really brings this new story to life. The system design and care involved. I can't say enough how talented and passionate the 343 audio team is and what this brings to Halo Infinite. So he's basically just said, weapons sound good, like it. My favourite audio element in Halo Infinite has got to be the music. The music team has truly captured the core of what Halo is, and has brought such an incredible feeling of wonder, mystery, heroism, excitement, and emotion to the game. Fantastic. That's exactly what you want to hear. Again, going off what we were saying earlier, they're comparing 4 and 5 with the original trilogy. There were so much fewer memorable moments with regards to music,
Yeah.
like during missions or whatever.
The music has made, quite frankly, fairly basic, simple fights in some of the older Halo games feel epic, feel awesome, feel like there's a lot going on. And yeah, that's been missing for a while now, but it's good to hear they kind of seem to be bringing it back.
Yeah. It's also one of the areas of the game audio that I personally spend the least time working on. But I love that I get to experience the music with really fresh ears, much like our players and fans will. Every time I play the game, I hear new, beautiful, inspiring music, and it makes my job better every day. Well, that's sweet. But yeah, no, everything what they're saying is really harkening back to this spiritual reboot, yada yada yada. You've heard it all before. You've heard us say it loads this video. And then again, that's some 343 Banshees right there. They are the heavy-looking Banshees.
Yeah, to be fair, that style of Banshee makes sense for the Banished. You know, the Banished are a bit
Yeah,
more
the big clunky
hunker
sort
chunker.
of, yeah.
As we look ahead to release this fall, what is the audio team primarily focused on in the remaining months? I'm in charge of audio mixing, so I'll be working towards a final mix while polishing the content and addressing bugs with my team to deliver the best Halo audio experience we can. I'm primarily focused on closing out all of the remaining bugs/issues, optimizing the audio for each platform we'll be shipping on. Playing the game a whole lot, trying to find any bugs along with polishing as much content as possible. The music team is focused on polishing player experiences across the entire game, from reworking certain sequences to improving our music systems and squashing bugs. Thank you so much for sharing insights into the audio team's work on Halo Infinite. Before we depart, any final words you'd like to leave with our community? Thank you for reading this, and I appreciate all the feedback you have shared with us over the years. I'm proud of what our team achieved in Halo 4 and 5, but I know we're still learning and improving. I have seen my team's hard and passionate work over the years to deliver an even better experience, and something we hope players will appreciate. We're almost there. We're truly looking forward to sharing the exciting Halo Infinite audio experience with you when we launch this fall. Thank you for letting us talk about some of the stuff we have been doing for Infinite. It's truly an honor to be able to share with such an amazing community. This project has been a long, challenging road, but the excitement and support from you has really helped in keeping us energized and further motivated. I really hope you all enjoy the experience coming this fall. We've been wanting to share more music with the community, and we do have a few more things in the works leading up to launch this fall. Multiplayer is one area where we've pushed things in some new directions. I hope to chat more about that soon. In the meantime, we have just released the 3 tracks we shared last year from each of the composers on Spotify today. These tracks are also available on iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon, and Skilltree Radio. Or Records, sorry. Never heard of that one.
Never heard of Skilltree Records, but we will make a video on these songs because it warrants it.
We'll do a separate video on these songs because honestly, these songs are just a generalization. These songs are good. But just one thing I kind of want to point out. I know I'm a little bit worried about. They mentioned bugs quite a bit in that last sort of paragraph going on about what they're going to be doing, which makes sense. It's the tail end of the game's development. But once again, it's something I'm worried about. I don't think it's going to happen, but I still worry about it because I'm just a paranoid motherfucker.
I think you've got to take into account that they've obviously had like an extra year or so to work on this. You've got to think that they're going to be a year better off than what they were.
Yeah.
So, you'd like to think that
I don't want this game to end up like Cyberpunk did.
No.
This game cannot launch broken.
I mean, if it launches broken, Xbox is sort of done, really, isn't it?
if
That is
this
its main
game,
exclusive title.
if this game launches broken, then blatantly they haven't listened with Halo Master Chief Collection, Halo 5. If
No.
genuinely, as angry as everyone will be, as much outcry as there would be, if this game did need another year of development, give it that year.
Cool.
I don't want that to happen.
No.
But if this
That's
game
a painful thought.
if this game needed another year on top of that, because quite frankly, 1 year for a game that's going to last 10 years isn't that bad. 1 more year.
That's true.
But
1 more year. But anyway, look, hopefully it's not going to be that. You'd like to think it's a few just small audio bugs that they can polish up over the next few months.
I think it's minor things. I think it's standard things in development. It's just one of them little things that kind of I noticed it and makes me paranoid. But yeah, as I said, we'll talk about the soundtrack in another video.
Yeah, we'll have its own video up. Right, well, I think we'll leave that very long video there. If you've watched to the end, fair play to you. Just quickly, before we do tell you to like and subscribe and all that bollocks that you're going to do anyway, there is a little bit more on this Inside Infinite. It's the Tales from the Trenches and the Tale of Two Rockets, rather. Which again is just a little bit more in-depth analysis about like sections of the audio and like how they like it. Go check them out for yourselves. We're not going to read through these.
Yeah, they're just kind of reiterations of what's been sait, kind of going.
Essentially, yeah. If you are interested, obviously, we'll leave a link to this webpage in our like little YouTube description bit. You know what we mean. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. Let us know what you think about all of this audio stuff, because some of it is very cool. They've teased other things in the game, obviously new vehicles, new weapons. We've heard audio of a new weapon, which looks awesome. But yeah, let us know your thoughts about it in the comments or on social media. All the links will be in the description for that. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.
We'll see you guys later.